then it's different colors, and people call it a nothingness, a void. I don't know what you call it. You don't see anything. So all I know is I get the sharp feeling right here, like it's like lightning striking you right here, and I just hear, let me reintroduce myself. I am God. Yes, I am real. Yes, angels are real. They're a gift from me. Want to meet them? So I said no, because I didn't believe in them. So I was like, no. But at this time, I knew whatever was taught, whatever was hitting me, it was the most supreme. You knew it was what they call God. I just didn't know the real name. Could have been like Hector. It could have been Billy, but he would have been like, yes, I am Billy. Like, you know, that's what you know me as. I see certain words pop up in the air, kind of trying to like reintroduce himself as his personality. So one of the words said loving, just flies in the air. Another word flying in the air says caring. Then another, all caps with exclamation points, long suffering. So I remember this word long suffering as a kid, but I understood what it means now. I think it just meant that God would suffer for a long time until he knows that he loves everybody. I felt like a kid or something, be like a kindergartner, because I kind of like felt him get down on one knee and give me a hug and squeeze me. But me, I'm like, wait, like, you're not supposed to do this to me. Like, I'm not perfect. Before this hug even happened, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I'm not perfect. But he kind of tells me, like, I want you now. Like how you are, like mistakes and all. Like, I want you now. You don't have to go get perfect and then come back. I've seen most people in their life reviews, they see life reviews, during their experiences. I did not. I seen just a projector screen pop up. And then one like video I seen was a picture of a video of a guy in a suit with a briefcase. And then I was like, I love him. There's the other guy with a joint in his mouth and a skateboard just cruising on by, and he's like, I love him. And then here's a prostitute girl, and she's walking by, and he goes, I love her. And it was like all the same love. There wasn't like, I love him more than her because she's a prostitute. It wasn't nothing like that. I just seen, and then I looked and I seen like this like snake wrapped in chains, and it was like, I didn't even know what that was, but it was like literally wrapped and couldn't move. I think it was maybe like a sign for the devil or something, because that thought I had in my head was like, but what about, and before I can be like, but what about the devil?
In the flash of a second, I was just watching the entire scene from above. I was immediately thrusted into this life review. Strange, distant figure appeared, and as I approached this distant figure, immediately I was passed a basketball, and I began to play this basketball game with this strange figure. Essentially what he said was, okay, playtime's over, let's get serious. There's a reason that you're here, and there's a reason that I'm here. I'm here because I know how you felt after your life review. I know that you desperately wanted a second. You felt after your life review. I know that you desperately wanted a second chance. Well, I'm here because I'm here to present to you that second chance. But if you take the second chance, you have an obligation and a responsibility to live out your great purpose. Yeah, the afterlife is real, and it's actually, from my perspective at least, it was more real than here. So I was a baseball player, and it's funny, like if anyone would have asked me before my experience what I did or who I was, that was the only answer I could ever come up with was baseball player. I am a baseball player.
Were you living, do you think, like a full life at the time? Living your purpose?
I thought, if you would have asked me then, I thought I was, but obviously in retrospect, I don't think I was, no.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about your near-death experience.
Okay, so I was playing baseball at this little tiny school in Jacksonville, Florida called Jacksonville University. And it was my freshman season, and I had good hopes for my career. I was playing at the Division I level, which was the highest level of amateur baseball that there was before the professionals. I was just playing in high school on the #2 ranked team in the entire country, so I thought that my track was I'm going to play Major League Baseball. So it's my freshman season at Jacksonville, and I have an injury. I have an elbow injury, and I'm heading in for surgery on my elbow. The surgery is often referred to as Tommy John surgery in the baseball world. And I get into the hospital for my pre-operation checkup, and the lady, the nurse, she wanted to ensure that I was able to be operated on. So she was asking me all these types of questions, and one of which was, are you allergic to anything? Or anything that we should know about? And I didn't know the answer, so I said no. So fast forward to the next day, I'm going in for my surgery, and my surgeon says, okay, here's how this is gonna work. You're gonna lay on this hospital bed in your hospital gown, and we are going to hook you up to this IV. We're gonna put the anesthesia through your IV, so that way you don't feel a thing during surgery. By the time we get into the operating room from where we are now, you'll be out, you'll be unconscious, and you'll be back on the field before you know it. So that's what he did. He wheeled me into the operating room, and I was supposed to be under anesthesia, but I wasn't. I just felt like I was completely awake and conscious. And from my perspective, I was like, well, maybe it just hasn't hit me yet, so I'm not gonna say anything. So the doctors are confirming with one another that I'm ready to get operated on, and they grab their tools and they're about to cut into me. And from my perspective, I'm like, I'm still awake. This is really gonna hurt. So I started to, I guess you could say, get a little bit afraid. And then in the flash of a second, I was just watching the entire scene from above. And I watched from above as my body turned like a lifeless blue, and then bruised like purple, and then I watched as my heart monitor went from beep, beep to beep. I was immediately thrusted into this life review where I saw my entire life on like a panoramic 360-degree screen, but I also had the ability to enter the life review. So it's like I was watching a movie, but I was also in the movie, and I was experiencing my life review from the perspective of all of the characters of the movie. So it wasn't just my life, I was also experiencing my life from others' perspectives. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and my dad used to discipline my brother and I with a belt. That's how he would discipline us. And my brother's 4 years older than me. So from my perspective as a kid, obviously I hated that, and I don't condone that at all, and I don't think it was right. But my entire life until I had this near-death experience, I absolutely hated him for it, and I would never, ever, ever forgive him for it. And in this life review, I was able to actually experience those beatings from my dad's perspective. And from his perspective, I had never known, but he thought what he was doing was right. He was like, my kids need discipline, and this is what I believe discipline to be. So from his perspective, I got to understand that because of the life review, he was coming from a good place, and he was actually trying to express love to my brother and I. So I was able to experience memories like that, and just every single memory of my life in all types of detail and clarity. It was just incredible. And the last memory of my life review was one where it just stuck with me. I don't know, my parents divorced when I was 8, and after that, a man entered my mom's life. His name was Mike, and he was just what I needed from a father figure. He didn't discipline us in the same way. He was just very loving and nurturing and gentle. And anyways, we played this beautiful basketball game one time when I was 12, and I don't know why it stuck with me my entire life, but it did. And in the life review, I was able to experience it again, and it was just beautiful. It's a good way to end my life review. That said, after that memory and my life review was done, I couldn't help but feel angry with myself and upset at myself for how I decided to live my life. And I was afraid of what was next. I wasn't ready to die. And there's so many reasons to that at the time. I didn't believe in an afterlife before my experience, so that contributed to it. But also the way in which I lived my life, it was just, I don't know, I just wasn't happy with it at that time. And it sucked because I couldn't do anything about it after my life review. It was my last moment. So after the fear and the anger subsided, I was transferred into this place that was just indescribable by words. It was like everything, I was viewing it from the perspective of the inside of a diamond. It was just serene and crystally, and there were refracted combinations of light that just formed one universal color. It was just beautiful. And in this place, the voice in my head that was beating me down about how I lived my life after my life review, it didn't exist. I didn't have this voice in my head. I was pure presence, pure bliss, unconditional love. And I was in this place for what felt like forever before a strange, distant figure appeared. And as I approached this distant figure, immediately I was passed a basketball. And I began to play this basketball game with this strange figure who happened to be my stepdad, Mike. And it was a recreation of the moment I just saw in my life review just moments ago, or however long ago, I don't know. I didn't have any concept of time. In fact, time and I felt like we were the same thing. So anyways, Mike and I played this beautiful game of basketball, which lasts forever, it feels like. And I'll mention that neither of us had a body or an ability to speak words, because there was no use for either of those things. We both, I don't know, it's so hard to describe, but we both just knew. We just knew that we were playing a game of basketball, and we didn't need a body, and we knew what each other was thinking, so there's no need for real communication. But anyways, after the beautiful game of basketball, which lasted forever, Mike slowly stepped away from me, and his tone changed, and he was like, okay, essentially this is what, if words existed, this is what he would have said. Essentially what he said was, okay, playtime's over, let's get serious. There's a reason that you're here, and there's a reason that I'm here. I'm here because I know how you felt after your life review. I know that you desperately wanted a second chance. Well, I'm here because I'm here to present to you that second chance. But if you take the second chance, you have an obligation and a responsibility to live out your great purpose. That's what he called it, was a great purpose. So it didn't feel like I had much of a decision, and I made my decision, and right when I did, he disappeared, and I was face to face with myself on the operating table. It's as if a glass panel was separating me from up here and me from the operating table. And I watched as the doctors injected me with the shot that saved my life, and I woke up on the table and I was punching the doctors because I was fighting with myself about the decision I had just made to come back because that place was so perfect.
How were you playing basketball without a body? Like, how did that work?
I wish I could describe it, Lauren. We just knew. It was just this knowing of all. And again, it sounds like it doesn't make sense in earthly terms, but it really just, it just was. It was just a recreation of the moment of the life review. I don't know. I wish, I've never been asked that question, but I wish I could have a better answer to it because I just don't know how to answer it.
That's fair, that's fair. Yeah, I feel like you've done, though, a good job of putting a lot of this other stuff into words. You mentioned that it was your stepfather was like a strange figure coming up to you. When did you realize, oh, that's my stepdad?
I can't pinpoint a moment because I didn't have any concept of time or space, really, even. It just, when he appeared, it was almost as if I saw him in a distant, and then in a flash of a second, it was just, he was here. There was really no transition period between like, what is that? Oh, that's my stepdad. It was more so just, and then bam, that's him. I don't know if that explains it either. These questions are so hard to answer.
No, but you're doing, I appreciate the answers. I feel like with a lot of the people I've spoken to, my understanding is it's no words there. Like what you said, it's communication almost through like telepathy. And so I appreciate everyone who I've spoken to, like their work translating it almost into a different language. So I understand. What did the realm, you said that it was like looking around within a diamond. Was it like a basketball court? Were you in nature? What kind of things were around you?
Yes, so it was the recreation of the life review moment. So I'll describe that. It's funny, like I actually have a picture on my phone. Guess my mom took a picture of us playing. So the basketball court was concrete. Obviously in that place it wasn't concrete. Concrete didn't exist there, but the scene was set where I was on a concrete court with no shoes on because I didn't have any shoes on in real life, and he was playing against me. He was actually passing me the basketball in the picture, and there were trees in the background because it was in kind of a rural area, and you couldn't see the basketball hoop, but it was like you could tell that we were facing this way. Again, that's the best answer I can come up with.
When he said you to live your great purpose, did you know what that was at the time?
No, I didn't, and I haven't for years. After the near-death experience happened, I just returned to my life as it was before for a long time. Like I returned to baseball, I returned to, I don't know, listening to the voice in my head, directing and guiding my life. So for a long time, I kind of just brushed it off as if it was just a dream, and as if that didn't actually happen. But to answer your question, no, at the time I had no idea, and I didn't even take it very seriously, honestly.
Do you know what your purpose is now?
I'll say this. I have a lot better of an idea. It's hard to say it's one specific thing, but I do feel as if I've been brought back to bring to the world a message, and that message is, I call it becoming ready to die. And the reason that I called it that is because when I died after my life review, I felt so afraid of what was next, and that's just an indescribably terrible feeling that I can't describe. But I feel as if becoming ready to die is a mission that I've been brought back to share, to combat that feeling, to ensure that nobody else ever has to feel that.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Going back a little bit more, I saw in another interview you did that a nurse told you about NDEs when you were in the hospital recovering. Can you tell me that story?
It was after I had been revived, and I was on drugs, sedated from them bringing me back to life. And I was just spewing a bunch of words. And I had recounted the story to my mom. And obviously she was like, oh, that's just the drugs talking. You're not telling the truth. But the nurse overheard it, and the nurse was like, wait a second, that's real. Those are called near-death experiences. And she didn't go into too much detail, and if she did, I can't really remember. I'm sure I could ask my mom, but that was it. And I heard it, and my mom heard it, and we were just like, oh, that's cool. But we had no concept of NDEs. We thought a near-death experience was like when you, I don't know, almost die, maybe a car almost hits you or something. That's what we thought a near-death experience was.
How did other people react when you told them this story?
That's a good question. I guess it just depends on the person, because everyone reacted differently. Like I said, initially when I told my mom, she was the first person I ever told, and it struck her as a surprise, but it also didn't really seem to have an effect, because I myself didn't take it very seriously at first, like I was saying. So when I told her, we both just kind of brushed it off, like, oh, that's cool, move on. And then as I started to feel some of the after effects, it became a lot more real to me. When I would tell people, like I would tell some of my baseball teammates when I returned to baseball, but I would say it as a joke almost. I'd be like, hey guys, I died. And they would laugh and we would laugh together, but there was no depth to it because it didn't really mean anything to me. But as I got further away from the experience, and it became a lot more real to me because of the internal after effects, then people started to react differently just because I told the story a bit differently.
Why do you think it took you time to process it?
That's a great question, and I don't exactly know the answer. I'm still exploring different ideas. But I'll say that at first I didn't want to admit it to myself that was real. Because if I did, that would mean I'd have to change my entire life and my entire identity, because my identity was built around the voice in my head. And when I was in that place, the voice in my head didn't exist, and it felt as if I was the real me. So the question that I was afraid to answer was, if I'm not the voice in my head, then who am I? And the weight of that question, especially for me, I was only 19 when it happened, it was just too much for me to bear. So I tried to sweep it under the rug as long as I could. But eventually I had to answer it and face it.
That's a good answer. That's a really, really insightful answer.
Thanks.
Yeah. What else changed for you after? What did your beliefs change after?
Yes, everything for me changed. Everything for me changed after. Yeah, my beliefs changed for sure. Before the experience, I didn't have, I didn't have a real spiritual or religious belief. I thought that when you died, like, I wanted to believe in God, I did, but I don't know, it wasn't real to me because I had never been exposed to that. And so I believed that when you died, everything was just black, and that was it. You're done. That was your time. But after this, I couldn't unsee or unexperience what I saw and experienced. So it became real to me that, like, yeah, the afterlife is real, and it's actually, from my perspective at least, it was more real than here. So that changed for me. And then, like I was saying, the life that I lived before was built around the idea that the voice in my head was me. So when I came back, I tried to fit myself back into that box, but it felt like I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just didn't work. So my entire life changed. What I wanted to do with my life changed. My ambitions and dreams and goals changed, and my personality changed, you know. I was I don't know, I guess you could say, you know how athletes carry themselves, you know, just like very egotistical, and I'm better than you, and I'm God's gift to this earth type thing. And after this experience, I was just humbled to the core, because number one, I didn't believe that death could actually happen to me. And so that was really like shocking, like, oh my gosh, this is real. And then two, it was like, I'm not God's gift to green earth, you know, I'm just some regular guy. And so I don't know, that's a long way of saying everything changed for me.
Yeah.